what do they do with them in storyline sense, given that Roman Reigns will be in the main event against Brock Lesnar. So yeah, he's already forecasting that one. Matt, where do you see them, the Shield, being together for that long? Are they a permanent thing for you at the moment?
I do hear a lot of rumours going around that they will disband by WrestleMania, and I hear in the rumours that Dean Ambrose will be the one that causes the breakup this time. And Dean used to play a good heel role before he came to the WWE, and it is something probably that he wouldn't mind getting back into, but I'm not too sure I'm down for that. I've never really liked it in wrestling when there has to be a start and an end. Like you're either friends with someone and you're now locked. It's like playing the game. It's like you're in a tag team now. You're joined at the hip. Can't do anything about your partner, or you're breaking up from your tag team now, and now you have to rip your partner's head off, dismantle them. Why can't you just admit that you have a friend and you might do your singles career and you might join up now and then?
Yeah, it's really. Look, it's enough to have a reunion, but now we've got to redo everything. Like, we've got to have them. I just think, please don't do that, because it's bad enough thinking Seth Rollins has managed to get back in there with them, considering what he did. And yet we're led to believe they're all getting on. But to have it again, but just a different way round, I don't really know if I want to go through all that again and have Dean and Seth, but on a different way round. Does anyone really care that much? I really don't think they do. But it's interesting, like you say, Matt, that they're so short-sighted with those stuff. Like, goodness me, one of the best groups going, one of my most favourite was the Four Horsemen, but my God, they didn't keep splitting up and fighting each other all the time. You know what I mean? Like, the reason they are considered if I know that everyone goes, you hear loads of people like Booker T and a couple of people that go, we're one of the most dominant groups ever. Well, clearly they're not, because they beat each other up. And that's the problem that with all these groups lately. Internally, they turn on each other. So they're not that great, because if you look at some of the more established people like the NWA, they weren't doing that every week, where you get like all of a sudden Kevin Nash turns on Scott Hall and vice versa. It took a long, long time. And, you look at things where, the only thing I can compare the Horsemen with, the short version of that was Evolution. It was like another version of it in a sense. But even that went a long time, and the way they did it wasn't too bad. But you think back to the Horseman group, and you think how long they were together, and why people love that, and the whole sort of like, they wore the expensive watches, and they were the first guys to really do that. Or you look at the Freebirds, again, they were together for ages. They were proper brothers like that. They didn't turn on each other all the time, and I think that when they say they're one of the most dominant groups, it kind of makes me chuckle, because I think they're clearly not, because Seth Rollins turned his back on them. So they weren't as together as what we thought in all this. But yeah, you get that thrown out a lot. So yeah, it does seem very short-sighted, even more short-sighted, Matt, if before WrestleMania they're already thinking of breaking up. I think if anything, what they need to do is just say, that's the end of that, but, don't do the whole turning business. But, I guess if that's what they feel Dean's got to do, they would probably use this whole Shield reunion to do it. Reminds me a little bit, Matt, of the Evolution one we had a few years ago. That was diabolical as well. Batista and Randy. Like, again, why would Batista go back with them? It made no sense. Or Randy, for that matter. Absolutely, beat the crap out of the guy. Blood was spilt. But here we are, we're going to get back together. It's so sort of short-term thinking sometimes, and that fans have to forget and suspend their disbelief almost that this is happening, and when you got to pretend that it never happened, it's almost like this is what is happening. So, I'm not sure where they go. I think if anything, if they do remain together, it's very much going to be Roman is the main guy, and I don't know if that really helps Seth and Dean out an awful lot going forward. Matt, just a quick word on Seth Rollins before we head on home with this podcast, but seems to have lost a hell of a lot of momentum, Matt, from being a top main event player and, you know, Triple H's pick, and he liked him down at NXT because he was the first and all the rest of it. What's happened to him, Matt? Is he just not capable of the baby face, or is he, you know, because his matches haven't been, you know, he's always saying he wants to steal the show and he's going to be this and that, but it seems he just hasn't had too many great matches this year that I can really recall really enjoying, Matt. Even against Triple H, for instance, I felt like that was a bit of a struggle to watch that WrestleMania, and I remember reviewing it at the time, not enjoying it. But for you, Matt, what's happened there with Seth Rollins? What's your take of it?
He's just a difficult wrestler to connect with, I think. I think so many things change with him, like he's a heel, or he's a face, he's a heel, he's a face, and the way they have him explain it to you as well is unbelievable. Like, it's almost like he's believing his own BS, you know, when he talks about stuff like, oh yeah, I'm a good guy now. It's almost like, at least with Shawn Michaels, you know, he'd come out and someone would say you can't trust him, and he'd admit it, because he turned on so many people now and then. But Seth, it's almost like he believes it himself. And even his finisher has changed so many times. It's like, what is Seth Rollins' identity? And even some of his in-ring moves are like borrowed from other people at points. When I'm seeing the swing blade or sling blade, and I'm like, what? I thought that was Finn Balor's move. I'm like, this is confusing me. And the guy is definitely an A-class wrestler, that's for sure. Yeah. It's just, I am not buying into the way they booked him at all.
Yeah, I feel like they need to really think about him and how they produce him. Like when he's talking, there's just no. I really don't. You know, there's no sort of emotion behind it. It's like he's always reading off of a bloody script every time. It's terrible, and he's always talking to me like he's a heel still. That's the problem as well. And maybe it's just a likability thing. It's difficult. The thing I'll always go back to, Matt, is remember when he come back from his injury, they'd done that 24 episode on him, and you saw how much this guy was busting his ass to get back, and you know he wanted to get back and be the best. And what happened? He come back as a freaking heel again, when it really should have been a baby face at that point, right there and then when the momentum was there. But they didn't. They had him come back as a heel, and they were doing the Roman Reigns matches with him, which I thought was a disaster. So, yeah, I feel like they might have, you know, wasted that opportunity perhaps with him. Hopefully not, because like you say, he's a fantastic talent. But you know, looking at him and Dean, they look so average with each other at the moment. Like you just wouldn't know they were former champions, very recent as well. You feel like it should be having, you know, their big mark on the business, but clearly not. Especially if you consider Dean Ambrose had managed to get a match with Brock Lesnar a few years back, Matt, at WrestleMania. I mean, it's kind of strange now to think about that. Like, you know, had that match, and yet, wow, nothing's really gone well for him since, has it really? Going forward, but yeah. I want to thank everybody who's contributed to the show. Sorry if I didn't get around to your questions. I'll try and email you back in the week. But yeah, I want to thank everyone for tuning in live tonight. And if you listen to us at another point, don't forget to email the show, wrestleline@gmail.com. Matt, thank you as always for coming back. It's our sort of first review we've done in a long time. And yeah, I don't feel as bad as I did last year. I remember last year, Matt, I was like really pissed because of the Goldberg thing. But I don't feel I'm that way. But maybe I'm just like, maybe I'm just used to knowing that these things can happen now, and I don't get too invested emotionally in these things for me. But yeah, thank you as always, Matt, for coming on and talking Survivor Series. And sure, it'll be interesting to see where it goes in the next few weeks leading into this sort of time of the year. It's very odd this time of the year with things, because it's right in the middle And again, everything's sort of keying up now for the Royal Rumble in a sense, even though it's like months away. It's the one that's the focus. So thank you as always, Matt, for coming on.
No, always a pleasure. And funnily enough, I'm looking forward to the next one for sure.
It'll be interesting. Get us opinions on that. Also, just want to say, I know a few people was like, we're still doing Survivor Series. We are going to be doing Survivor Series 96. Your vote that you put in will be done. Had some real personal issues last week, so didn't get round to doing it. But myself and Matt will be sitting down. We will be putting that out in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. We're actually... I'm looking forward actually to going back on that one because it's one that I'm not overly familiar with, but I know that some of the matches on it. So, myself and Matt will be doing that, and we'll probably send down as a two-parter. And don't forget, continuing next week will be the second part of the Bret the Hitman Hart timeline. That will be next Monday, folks. So stay tuned for that. Had amazing emails about it, and but I think by far it's the most popular one, Matt, that we've done so far, and everybody said it's the best one it's the best podcast that we've done so far in terms of timelines for people. So I think if you've enjoyed the first part of Bret's, you'll be quite interested to hear the second part. That's for sure. So good feedback on that. Until then, folks, we'll hit you out with those, and we'll be back on our regular show in the next fortnight. Until then, folks, have a good week. We'll be back next week again, as I said before, with the Bret the Hitman Hart timeline. Until then, stay tuned, and we'll see you then.